Getting everything set up for Facebook. What? What do you think? Title, what does reopening look like?
What to consider when reopening?
Mm.
Or I've reopened, now what?
Okay, I like it. Our expert, our HR expert. Okay. And oh, good Lord. Every time I type your name, it's trying to put me in the box with you. Okay, that's okay. We're going to go live now.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joy Fishtrunk of Premier Group, your resident CPA firm in the Lanham area. I'm here today with our HR expert, Henrietta Smith, who is going to be talking to us again today about I've reopened, now what? Some things to think about and consider. So, Henrietta, thanks again for joining me.
Oh, you're more than welcome. It's a pleasure being here again. I guess we'll just jump right in.
Yeah, so there's a lot to consider. I mean, with everyone, we're in phase 2, I believe, still, and I know different some states are fully open, some states are various stages. When people are going back into the office, I don't think that they are thinking about maybe some of the liability issues and the fact that if you don't have the proper signage and you're not taking the proper protocols and someone gets sick on your premises, they can actually sue you. And I don't necessarily think that we're considering also, as we're preparing to go back into our offices and we have people coming in and out, what are some of the things that we should be considering?
Well, you have to consider that there's a level of negligence that one would have if they don't follow the CDC, because if a lawsuit took place, the first question that would be asked is, are you following the CDC protocol? If your answer is no, then you're held liable because it is highly recommended and broadcasted everywhere to follow the CDC protocol. So with that being said, the first question is, did you train your staff? Did you train your staff on how to properly clean? Did you train your staff on social distancing? Did you train your staff on how to wear a mask? All of these trainings are on the CDC website. They are videos. They're free that you can show your staff. They can look at it weekly, daily, however often they need to until they get it, because showing them one time is not going to do it, because it takes practice to follow these habits, because it's easy for an employee to go back to the office. They're wearing their face mask, they're wearing the gloves, maybe they're wiping down their laptop or computer when they first get there, right? How about week 2, week 3? You're going to start to forget. You get familiar. So now maybe I'm not wearing my face mask. Or, like I've seen some people, I halfway wear my face mask, where my nose is exposed but my mouth is covered. Well, once you expose your nose, now you're exposing yourself and you're exposing others. I had mentioned when we met the last time that even some fibers in the face mask are not strong enough to hold back anything that comes out of your mouth. So that's why we talked about the match test, that if you could blow a match out, you need to change your face mask. With the CDC, you want to make sure that you are buying the right chemicals for cleaning, because if you choose to get cheap, which sometimes we do, and not get the right chemicals and you're wiping down, it's not killing the virus. Or you're not wiping down correctly, because when you put the chemical up there, you're supposed to let it sit for 20, 30 seconds, Some people let it sit for 2 minutes to kill the virus, then you wipe it up. If it's spray white, it's not gone. So these are simple little things.
Well, what do you say to the person that says, well, I have a cleaning service that comes in every day. What are my actual responsibilities? Do I still need to do all of this if I have someone coming in taking care of that for me?
If you have usage of, let's say, you have the cleaning company come in. They usually come in the evening or first thing in the morning or when you close. So you have someone come in. Let's say half your staff takes public transportation, the other half doesn't. You don't know what your staff has been exposed to. So there has to be a level of cleaning per usage. So if one person goes into the kitchen area to fix a meal, they need to clean up before they leave so the next person comes in, they have a clean area. Or if you don't trust someone's ability to clean, because some people get a little lazy, then you go clean up before you use and then clean up after you use. It depends on the trust level there. But you have to make sure you stay safe because you don't know who's infected. So cleaning is a consistent thing, so you have to have the right tools when you're doing it.
Do you need to do something like we've seen in the past with HR? Do you need to have people sign off to say that they're doing this every day to protect yourself against that kind of liability? What kind of tracking systems can you even put in place for something like that?
I mean, you should definitely have a policy. When everybody comes back to work, I would say have a MOU or an agreement that says I will be responsible for these things and the company will be responsible for these things, and everyone signs off on it. So that way, at least you have an agreement. You should have reminders all over the place. I would say put it on, if you can make a screenshot or a screensaver on your computers, put it up there, put it on everyone's desk or the door coming in, the door going out, in the bathroom area. Have it everywhere you can as these friendly reminders of what they need to do. People do get comfortable. When people get comfortable, they slack off. Well, that slack off can make somebody sick. I've had a case just today where a client, a child, one of the employees' child got the virus. So now there's a chance that that employee has the virus, and that employee has been working with other employees on the job site. So, I mean, it's still happening. If you look at the CNN, they have a chart of every state in the U.S. and the chart of increased cases. And so there's several states whose cases went way up for the past 2 weeks. And then there's some that are staying consistent, and then some are declining. The District of Columbia, thank goodness, is declining. But then let's say North Carolina is increasing. You know, Utah is increasing. You know, Oklahoma is increasing. So, you know, in those cases, if it's increasing, what do you do as an employer? Well, you got to make sure, number one, everybody is sticking to their agreement. You have to make sure that in that agreement, it also talks about what they do at home. And no, you don't want to try to control people's lives, but because this virus can infect or impact other people's lives and infect people, you have to ask them and hope that they, you know, comply with it to do certain things or don't do certain things on their personal time. Because like a lot of people who may have went to the beach for the Memorial Day, you know, weekend, they may have gotten exposed. Well, now they're going back to their, you know, homes, and now you see all these spikes, not just in cases, but in hospitalization. That's the key.
Right. Because that's what was going to be my question to you. What, as an employer, what should we be paying attention to? Should we be looking at the number of deaths, hospitalizations, the cases on the rise? Where should we be focused that kind of is our trend that we need to say, you know what, I need to maybe make some different decisions based on this information?
Right. You should definitely be watching the news. I'm not saying every day, but at least weekly, watch the news to see the cases. And you're not just looking for new cases because that just means people are getting tests done. And the more the tests are readily available, the more people will be tested. What you're looking for is hospitalization because that's saying to you that people are getting sick more and more and more, which means, oh, man, this area is more impacted, so we have to be super safe, which means you have to make sure that maybe have someone with a checklist at work who's responsible for taking temperatures. As I talked about before, that fingertip oximeter, which checks your oxygen level. If it's at 90%, you're good. If it's less, then there's a chance you could have the virus. So those types of things, you want to make sure someone has maybe, you know how you do in retail restaurant where you have a clean the bathroom chart and you initial every time you clean the bathroom? Well, maybe you initial off each person that you check their meter, put a check mark of what the results were, and that person holds that file and maybe date it, and every day you keep a file, at least for, I would say, until the end of the summer or until we get a vaccine or a cure or something, of keep checking that and making sure the person, whomever is going to do the oxidation machine and the forehead thermostat, that they are trained properly, and that if someone is going to, replace them, because of course no one wants to do it all day long, is that each person is trained properly and that the documents are kept confidential, because it is confidential data, because somebody may have a negative result, and you keep it filed away, locked in a file cabinet, and keep it stored there, because if someone does want to say that you were negligent or want to say that they got the virus from the work site and it's your fault because they wanted to stay at home and you forced them to come in and now they're sick, you're going to pay. You have all your records of what type of supplies you bought, you kept them in stock, you were checking temperatures, you kept everybody at a distance, you had your checklist for the kitchen, you had your checklist for the bathroom. I know this sounds excessive, but it will protect you because it will show you did your due diligence in keeping people safe. You also have to consider that you might not be a public, company, a private company. You may have clients coming in. They may be in the conference room. Well, how are you protecting, one, the clients or the visitors, and two, how are you protecting your staff from whatever that client or visitor may bring into the workplace? It could be the UPS guy that comes in every other day. You have to make sure that there's protocols set up so that things are safe. And you don't have to do it by yourself. The CDC has everything listed. They have videos. They have steps for you to follow. You just need to go there, print out what you need, make sure you share it with your staff, but also have meetings and talk about it on a weekly basis with your staff to make sure that everybody remembers and understands.
Well, that's actually, you brought up several good points, because I know even for our office, we've had to buy some infrared thermometers, and we're taking temperatures every day, and we've had to get the oximeter as well. So you have to have somebody wipe them off, because the is touchless, so you don't have to worry about touching anyone. Just when you're done, you wipe it down when it's done. But the oximeter, each person has to put their finger on it. Well, guess what? We don't want to share germs that way either. And so as a business, you're going to need to invest in these tools to keep your team safe. So would you say, since if you have clients, if we're taking temperatures from our staff, should we also be taking temperatures of the visitors, of the UPS man, of any single person that crosses our path? How far is too far and how much is too much?
Everybody that comes in, you need to test them, because you don't know. And it, like I said, it may seem excessive, but it's protection. It only takes one person to come in. Let's say someone came to visit, they didn't know they had the virus, and they're wearing a really cheap cloth face mask. Well, you in your mind, you're like, oh, they got a face mask, we're good, right? This really cheap face mask, this person sneezes in the face mask. And you're like, well, they have a face mask on, I'm good. Well, no, you're not, because some of those particles just flew out of that face mask and flew onto you, let's say on your arm. Well, you have your face mask on, you're good. Let's say you're at your desk, you're wiping your arm, you took your face mask off because you want to breathe, and, everybody's 6 feet apart. So you wipe your arm, and then you wipe your face. Well, guess what? You just infected yourself.
And you brought this all home, even though you were trying to do everything correctly.
Exactly.
And I wouldn't have thought, as an owner, we're trying to be safe with our staff, but I wouldn't have thought to have weekly meetings to remind people, but you're right. The more time you spend with people and you get more and more comfortable in your environment, and you do forget, and you're like, all of a sudden, oh, it's not that bad. I've been around these people for a couple of weeks now. What difference does it make? They're not sick. But you don't know who they're going home to at night.
Exactly.
You don't know where everything else is happening. I was actually talking to my business advisor today, and he told me about a handyman had come to someone's house to fix something. They were in and out. I don't think they were there that long. Well, guess what? That person infected this gentleman, and he actually passed away because all from letting someone innocent enough trying to get something posted in your house. And I think what's happening now is we're so ready to move on with life that we're kind of glossing over this as though it's no longer a big deal, when in fact this is just as big of a deal as all of the protests and everything else, we can't lose sight of it just because we want to move on. Because in our minds, it's too much and we're getting way down. But at the end of the day, it's still your life and your family's lives and the lives of your employees that you have to be concerned about when you're reopening.
Exactly. And you have to remember that this virus is just starting.
Right.
It's projected to be around till next year, and we don't have any cures yet, no vaccinations, so we can't assume that everything's okay. That's why we're seeing spikes in all these states. And now people are traveling from state to state to state. Well, now you can, let's say someone from a infected state that's increasing goes to a state that's low, they hang out at a bar or somewhere and then they leave. Well, if there's 16, 17 people at the bar, like we heard a couple of weeks ago, then those 16, 17 people go to their communities, and here we go, because now everybody's relaxed. Their guards are down. So you have to, I know this is where they say this is the new lifestyle, at least for a while. Stay safe, because who knows if you get sick, how sick you're going to be. Some people are fine and some people aren't. Nobody wants to take that chance, though.
I agree, and I think no one wants to. You don't really want the repercussions. So the older people always say it's better to be safe than sorry, and I think this is one of those times and something to really think about. So as an employer, should we be saying to our employees, I know it's limiting, and I think in our lifetime we've always had so much freedom that this is really adding a lot of stress to our lives because we've never had to kind of live under these restrictions, if you will. Should we be saying to our employees, don't travel, don't leave the state? Because initially I was hearing that from some of the bigger employers, but I don't know that small employers were putting those kind of, or even medium-sized employers were putting those kind of restrictions on their employees.
I think, any employer when it first started was should have definitely said that. You can't necessarily control people, but you can ask them not to do certain things, and if they do it, to be safe. Follow certain steps and procedures, and even if you had to do the extra mile, go the extra mile and find a chart or a list of what they should be doing or how to do it, just to educate them. If they are going to travel, educate them. Talk about it at a meeting. It's summertime. I know you guys want to get out and travel. Well, how do you protect yourself? Have those conversations. The key is to continuously communicate about this virus until it goes away or until it's, there's a cure for it. Do not just let it sit dormant because, like I said, people get comfortable, and that's when you open the door for someone to get sick, and all you need is one person to get sick, really sick, and then they want to sue you. Or let's say they get sick and die, and then their family wants to sue you.
Right.
What do you say? What proof do you have? What backup do you have to say, well, we did everything we're supposed to do? Well, how do we know that?
Right. Again, it goes back to the protocols and processes and what were you talking about? What do you have proof? If we talk to your team and your employees, what will they say that you were talking about?
Exactly.
What was the conversation like? Did you just, like you said, talk to them one time and set it and forget it? But it sounds like in this environment, we cannot do that because we have to, as employers, we have to stay vigilant to protect all of our employees and even ourselves. So it works both ways.
Exactly. You got to plan it out. And I would say you should have plan A, plan B, and plan C.
I like that.
So that way, if let's say you're reopening is plan A. Maybe half the staff is there or the full staff is there. It just depends on your size. Let's say plan B is if plan A was half the staff, plan B is the full staff. Let's say plan C is, oh, no, the cases have gone up for hospitalization and it's traumatic. We're going to plan C, which means everybody goes back to working at home. We're going to disinfect the office. We're going to do everything like it happened when we first found out about the virus. Right. So you know exactly what to do for each phase. You have all the steps written out, and you have your document tracking for whatever happens. You have your proof and evidence. Even when you have the meetings, I would say document the meetings and sign off on who attended the meetings. Keep your documentation. I know this is an HR habit, but all I can say is something goes down, you are protected. Because you have all your evidence versus saying, well, we had a few meetings. The staff knows, and then you get in an interview. Someone interviews the staff and says, well, did you have meetings? And let's say they get amnesia. We met once on it. I don't know. Then what happens?
What happens? you have no proof. You can't say, there's no justification on your part. But you're right, that is an HR thing and an accounting thing. But when we get comfortable, we kind of, so it sounds like we should be maybe designating, maybe we should have COVID-19 teams, kind of a reopening team.
I definitely agree.
So
yes.
I had about that, but maybe a team so that they can rotate. They can kind of all be working in conjunction with, instead of it just being the onus being on one person, put a team together of maybe 1 or 2 people or even 3 people who can rotate the duties, because there is a lot of things to do and think about. And so you want people that are concerned about it in all different shapes and sizes. So it might be a good solution for someone who has various team members.
I agree. You can have a COVID-19 team lead. And
Mm-hmm.
for that person that week, that person is in charge of having the conversation at the staff meeting, making sure all the signs are up, make sure everything is clean, making sure that everybody gets their forehead checked. You know, if they're coming in and out of the building each time, you know, they need to do certain things to ensure that things are safe, and they're responsible for filing everything away at the end of that week, and then the next person picks up and goes with it. But it should be planned out. It should be like a chart, maybe quarterly, to just show kind of what the different activities are and duties and who's going to do it, so that everybody's kind of clear on what they need to do and when, making sure all the documentation, supplies, et cetera, are available. And so that way there's no surprises, because in this case, when there are surprises, you just leave the door open for the virus to come in. And I know a lot of people feel like it's not that bad. You know, I can go outside, take a walk, I don't have to wear a mask, I go to the grocery store, everybody's good. We don't know that. Like they say, if somebody, let's say you go into the grocery store with no mask, right? You go down the aisle. Let's say someone else is in the aisle and they sneezed in the aisle. Let's say they sneezed once or twice. You didn't know that. They're out of the aisle. You're walking through the aisle. They say it takes up to 30 minutes for the particles to hit the ground.
Wow.
So you just walked into the person's particles, depending on how high and the timing of their sneeze.
No, I'm glad you said that, because I know I'm guilty. Even I've been thinking, oh, well, I'm just going home. I'm just going to the office, so I'm just in and out from. And so sometimes in those spaces, I don't walk past anyone. But I haven't had my mask on. But you're making a good argument why you should wear it anytime you're out in public. If you're not in your own private residence where you can control it, you really should have a mask on no matter what. And so you caught me. So you.
I think like a nice nature walk, you know, nobody standing around you, you're good. You know what I mean? But in a closed building, I wouldn't take that chance.
And you're right, because there are other, so we're in a building with other tenants. I have no idea who else is building at all times. And so, yes, it is, yes. So I'm guilty, and I will be fixing that today.
And I think the biggest issue sometimes with the virus is the surfaces. It's just we don't think. Like, say, for example, you have your mask on, you have your goggles, you know, glasses, you got your gloves, you're good, right?
Right.
And then you touch, let's say, the elevator. Hit the button to whatever floor, but you have your gloves on. You know you're going to throw the gloves away as soon as you get in the office, right? But you have your cell phone. And so you're hitting your cell phone while you're in the elevator with your gloves on. You get back in the office, you put your cell phone on the table, you take the gloves off, you feel like you're good, but your cell phone is infected because you didn't wipe that down. So it's just little things like that.
Stuff that we need. So we need to really, the rule of thumb is to wipe down everything. And when you get to wherever you're going, wash your hands, be careful, wipe down any surfaces, your cell phone, your keys actually are another place where contaminate every which way.
Because the virus lasts longer on plastics and metals.
Okay.
They say 5 to 7 days, so.
Yeah.
You know, unless you wipe it down. Yeah.
Well, so I appreciate you talking to me today. Do you have any parting thoughts or things that people need to think about before we leave?
I would say the most is communicate, plan. Just get your data, share it, continue to share it, so that way everybody's conscious of it. You know, it's not that you're beating a dead horse, but you're making it a habit.
Right.
And once it's a habit, then the safety level has increased versus people getting comfortable forgetting, and now you are exposed.
And they say it takes about 30 days for anything to become a habit anyway. And so, yes, repetition can be the way to make sure that you have that good habit in place. So
exactly.
Thank you for your time and for talking
You're
to us.
very welcome. It's a pleasure being here.
Yeah, we appreciate you. So we look forward to talking to you soon. Have a great rest of your day.
You're very welcome. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.